This week on Ask a Farmer, I've got a question from Paul about building fence in the woods for pigs coming up. So Paul writes in and he's ready to make the investment into some fence, and he's really set on doing some woven wire out in the woods to raise some forest raised pork. He's got about a 2 acre paddock he's wanting to fence in, and he's looking for some input on what kind of posts he should install, what kind of spacing he would want to use on those posts. And he's looking at using a 47-inch woven wire fence. And Paul, I think woven wire is just fine for pigs. It's pretty darn impenetrable, especially if you're using a 47-inch wire. First thing I want to tell you is you want to use a really good, high-quality wire from a company like Red Brand. It's made in the USA. It's all 12.5 gauge. And you're right, the stuff is 47 inches tall. And Paul, your first question was, how big of a T-post should I use? And this is something where I wouldn't mess around. If you're going to use a T-post, I'd absolutely go with the 6-foot T-post. And as far as your spacing goes, when I've built my pig fence, I've put my posts on about 12-foot spacings, because pigs will absolutely push on and test the fence. And we'll talk about electric in a minute, but you really just can't have too many supports. So I wouldn't go any more than 12 feet. You could test it out, maybe go a little bit further. You could look at going like 16 feet or so, but I'd really be careful going any further apart than that with just basic T-posts for your line posts. Now, if you're using a heavier post, you could definitely get away with going a little bit further. And again, we're going to address this with some electric on the inside of the woven wire, but that's my suggestion. T-posts, not that expensive. Again, to buy a good heavy T-post that's 6 foot long, you're probably looking at about $3.50 to $4. So not a huge cost there. Now, Paul, one thing I want to suggest that you look at, and I personally have not installed this product, but it's something that I'm looking at possibly installing on my farm in the near future, the next time we build another pig paddock. As a lot of you know, I'm a huge fan of high tensile fence, and we've actually used high tensile fence just like you would for cows for our pig paddocks out in the woods. There's a company out in Missouri that Greg Judy turned me on to. It's called PowerFlex Fence. I don't have any affiliation with them. I've bought some stuff from them, and they seem like pretty good folks, and Greg absolutely loves them. They've got what I think might be the best of both worlds, particularly when we're talking about pigs. They've got a high tensile woven wire product, and it's about the same price as what you would pay for a typical woven wire fence. Now, this is a little bit shorter, so technically you're paying a little bit more. It's the same price per linear foot, but it's shorter. But again, this is a high tensile fence, so you actually unroll this. It comes in a 330-foot roll, just like your typical 47-inch woven wire fence would come in. And you then stretch it just like any other high tensile fence. And the great thing about high tensile is when something falls on it, it's got some give to it, and it's not just going to get crushed and destroyed. So, Paul, I would tell you to at least look at maybe investigating this product. Call them, talk with them, see what their thoughts are. But I think for pigs, this looks like a pretty good product. Now, if you're going to say, hey, at some point, maybe I want to put cows in this area in the winter when I don't have pigs, it's going to be a shelter area or something, just by all means, go with the taller 47-inch wire fence. But if this is specifically for pigs, I think this is a product that you should take a look at. And you can also take a look at their Pasture Pro posts. I've bought some of those. They definitely cost more than a traditional T-post, but they're going to last a whole lot longer. They don't rot. They're very light. They're very easy to install, and they're very good at just holding up the fence, which is really all they're meant to do. Now, regardless of what you're going to do, you're going to want to build good corners. If you want to try and use T-posts, you can. I think you could probably get away with it for either one of these products, and you could buy the little kit from Ken Cove. Again, I have not purchased any of these myself, but several people in our Farm Business Essentials Facebook group have purchased these and have been using them for 2 or 3 years and say they were great. It's a kit where you actually get some little corner pieces and different little parts, and you build a traditional H brace out of T-posts. Pretty quick and easy to put together from what I understand, pretty inexpensive, and they work well. So the other option would be to use an actual traditional wooden post, 6-inch or 8-inch round wooden post, and build a true H brace. That's probably what I would tell you to do. Build a good solid H brace that's going to last, then use the T-posts or pasture pros for your line posts and go about every 12 feet. That's my suggestion on what you need to do to build your fence in the wood for your pigs. Coming up in part 2 of this, we're actually going to talk about stocking density, because that's Paul's other question is, how many pigs can I run on 2 acres? And what kind of shelter do I need for them based on the stocking density? Again, that's coming up in part 2 next week on the Ask a Farmer segment. Hey, if you've got a question you want answered from me, shoot it over to me at darby@grassfedlife.co, and it might just end up on this YouTube channel where I come on and answer your question, anything to do with farming regarding cows, pigs, and chickens profitably on pasture. Again, darby@grassfedlife.co. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for sending in the questions, and I'll see you next week.